Hey folks, what's going on? It's Moot Davis, and this is another episode of the Hold My Hat podcast. On this episode, I interview the great Adam Hood, a killer songwriter, singer, artist, musician, and all-round sweetheart of a person, which is a rare combo, and I think I even mentioned that in the podcast a couple of times. Anyway, Adam was wrapping up a tour, and one of his last stops in Nashville was the house here, and so he came over, we had a cup of coffee, and talked about the past, present, and future, and it was a really great conversation, and one of the best things for me is, Adam is very successful at what he does, and it was really great to hear about how he looks at life and how he sort of prepares for things and sort of invites good things into his life. So it was a really cool, different take, and I really enjoyed talking to Adam. In the podcast episode, we do reference Pete a lot, and Pete refers to Pete Anderson, who was the owner of the Little Dog record label that we were both on for a time. And Pete also produced and played guitar on our albums while we were on that label. Anyway, here you go, Mr. Adam Hood. Hope you enjoy it. Cool. All right, Adam Hood. Thanks again for making the time to come out.
Thank you, Moot Davis. It's been a long time.
It really has. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about, according to my recollection, we met at Sticky Fingers Chicken Shack.
Correct.
In, where was that?
Little Rock, Arkansas.
Little Rock, Arkansas.
We opened for you.
And it was you and your buddy, right? It was like you guys were doing a duo thing, and he was playing drums?
He was playing guitar.
Okay.
Yeah, that's right. That was when it was just Justin and I. And Justin's still in the band.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah, so he's playing bass and still singing. And he's got a knack for harmonies, man.
Yeah.
I mean, he can, I feel like my register is pretty dynamic. You know, I can hit low notes the same way I can kind of reach.
Right.
And he can stay above me, so he's got a knack for it.
Yeah, that's awesome. Did you like have like a professional training or anything like that, or you just all sort of self-taught, or?
Yeah. As far as singing goes, I was self-taught. Now, granted, I started out that way.
Yeah.
When I got involved with Pete.
Yeah.
He sent me to a vocal coach.
Right.
That was the first time I'd ever done that.
Right.
And so, it was educational. I don't know that it stuck because you've been to a vocal coach as well.
Same one, I think. Yeah.
And so, it's kind of it's a weird process to begin with. You know what I mean? The whole breathing process is strange.
Yeah.
And so, but once I feel like that was the catalyst that kind of started the vocal coach. And so I've got a lady that lives here in Nashville now, and her name's Annie Lindsay, and I played the show at Exit Inn, and the guy's tour manager walked up to me. The guy was opening for her. His tour manager walked up and said, "There's this little Scottish lady that's really, she's really adamant about meeting you."
Yeah.
And so he said, "Do you want me to let her back here?" I said, "Sure. I don't know who she is." And she said, "I saw your video on CMT, and I've been looking for you ever since." And so, I mean, she's spectacular, and I've been seeing her for, I guess 10 years now.
Yeah.
But she's really helpful. But it's kind of the same thing. Like, there's not really any coaching involved. It's just kind of maintenance. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which is really nice because I don't think it would do me any good to have anyone change my style, I mean, as long as I can, it's more the preservation of being able to sing flat.
Right.
Know what I mean?
Right. Understood. So where did you or what age did you figure out that you were going to write songs and do music, and
Probably around 17. I mean, I started playing in front of people. Just, I'm from Alabama, so, I mean, everybody in Alabama starts in church, so I started in church probably about 10th grade. So what would that be? 15, maybe 14, 15.
Yeah.
And then I got a job. My mom got me a job at another chicken finger place in Appalachia that they would let me do Friday and Saturday nights, one a month. And they paid me $150. And so I quit the football team. I said, this is it.
Right.
And so that year, I guess it was probably my junior or senior year in high school, 16, 17. My mom brought home this tape of Bring the Family, John Hyatt's Bring the Family.
Okay.
And I'd never heard anybody that could. Well, that was when. So Thing Called Love is on that record. All right. Bonnie Raitt already had that out as a single, and so I'd heard the single before I'd actually heard Hyatt's version of it.
Right.
And so that was the relationship. I didn't realize that was the case.
Yeah.
And this was Garth Brooks' era too, you know. So, Garth was one of those people that was, for all the success he had, he really kind of pointed at the writers. Like you knew exactly who wrote The Dance. You knew exactly who wrote If Tomorrow Never Comes.
Right.
And, like at CMT, that was when they were still doing credits on the bottom left of the screen. And so they had the writers' names.
Yeah.
And so I started putting the two together. And for some strange reason, I thought that was a normal side of life. You know what I mean? I thought that these writers wrote these songs, these artists picked them up and they toured with them, which is kind of the case. But and so I just kind of figured that was my path. You know? So pretty young. I mean, I knew this was what I wanted to do pretty young.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
I started way late. I don't think I learned any chords on the guitar until, I want to say, like 25.
Really?
Yeah. But then, once I had like 3 chords, I was writing stuff that I would eventually do with Pete, So it was just, different timing for different people. But that's awesome.
Yeah.
It must be a nice way to go about it. It seems
kind of.
Yeah.
But and the only thing is, for better or worse, if you have. I wish I'd had someone to kind of help just put the bumpers on it. You know what I mean? Like you said, at least, I wasn't, it's not that I didn't want to co-write or anything like that. It's just that nobody was doing that. Like nobody in Opelika, Alabama was successful at writing. Well, there was one guy, but I didn't know him.
Yeah.
So it took a long time and a lot of trial and error to sort of get to the fundamentals of things. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so, it's everybody's past.
Sure. So we meet at the chicken finger place.
Yeah.
And then I think Pete was. I remember that night because Pete was really impressed with you.
Yeah.
And then talk to me about the path. Because next thing I knew, you were at Little Dog and you guys were recording your album. And then, so just take me through that whole process of what that was like, and then, where'd you go after? Because I don't think you were at Little Dog for very long,
Just
right?
made one record.
Yeah.
So after that night, my manager reached out to Pete and kind of started the courtship process. And so, and you know how these things work, like, to me, it felt like forever.
Yeah, of course.
It felt like just this long process. And it probably was, I mean, from Sticky Fingers to the release of Different Groove, that's probably a 3-4 year process.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
So by all intents and purposes, it did take a little bit of time. And also, I was flying out there,
Yep.
and so that was really what took a while, and so I would fly out there and write a little bit with Pete. And that, so which we started working on it. My manager and Pete kind of got everything together and came up with some sort of a plan. Okay, I went out there and started working on it, just writing. And so I sent him all the songs I had that I'd written, which was probably like 11 songs.
Sure.
I didn't have very many.
Yeah.
And he picked out 4, and we spent some time tweaking those 4, and then I'd go home. And then, 3-6 months would go by. I'd come back out. We'd write 3 more, and I'd go home. And so it was kind of that back and forth thing for a while. And same thing. I would, we flew out there, do pre-production. I'd go home, and then started making the record. And so it was, it's so funny how it is now, like having done 7 more after that.
Yeah.
How just, it was a time-consuming process. But no different than anything else.
Yeah.
It's just from one side of the country to the other.
Yeah.
So we made that record, put it out under Little Dog. They were the cool thing that they actually did was that Pete got my first radio promoter to Texas Radio, and this was when at the same time the guy that was my manager at the time, his name was Jeff Krennick, and he lived out in Austin. And so I had made an EP before that, so I had something to push. And so he's the guy that kind of got me to Texas because he lived in Austin and said, well, you guys should just come out here. I'll get you some South by Southwest shows, and just so we just kind of started the process. And then we found some friends that kind of helped us bridge the gap. Like from Birmingham, we had a place in Jackson that would hire us. And then we have a place in Ruston that would hire us, which is the route that 22 Days song from Birmingham to Jackson, Vicksburg to Ruston. Yeah. And so, it just, all the pieces fell in line around that time. Yeah. And so we had 2 singles that Pete promoted. Well, 3 singles that Little Dog promoted. And in hindsight, they did really well. I mean, it was kind of my introduction to Texas radio, which has always been great for me, you know. I mean, especially for someone who doesn't live there. I had an address there for a while and was transiently located in Texas for a long time, and I still play there probably 3 weekends a month. You know? I mean, the Texas music scene has paid my bills for a long time.
Yeah, so, that's cool.
Yeah.
So, and then, so you were there for one album, and then I know that you somehow ended up at, maybe as a songwriter at Carnival?
Correct, yep.
Right.
Okay, so on the promotion, like during the promotion of the Different Groove record, I played this place called Tavern on the Green, which is in New Braunfels. Mm-hmm. And I met Miranda Lambert. Okay. And so, because their car broke down, and they just needed somewhere to go. It turns out they walked into the place where I was playing. I mean, pretty serendipitous as far as I'm concerned. Yeah. And so it was. She we talked a little bit. I gave her a CD. Different Groove may have been. I don't think it was even out then, but we were kind of in the process of promoting it. Just actually making official playing these songs. This is what we're doing. This record's going to come out. All the pomp and circumstance involved with that. And I met her, and so her mother called me. I don't know, 2 weeks later, started opening shows for her. Yeah. And then she introduced me to Frank, who was producing all her records at the time. Right. And I mean, that didn't take very long to say I wanted to work with this guy. And I was there for 7 years, man, and it was, some of the best songs I wrote. Yeah. And that was a cool time to be in Nashville too, man. There was an underground thing going on that, to look back at it now, I don't know that I would have written as much and as well had I not been involved with. I mean, that was, I was there for 1 year, and then Brent came, and Rob Baird was there, and just a bunch of other guys that it was just a cool scene, over at Carnival, and it was nice to be around them, and it really stepped up my writing.
Yeah. Did you ever cross paths with Travis Hill over there?
Oh yeah. I wrote with Travis. Yeah.
I like Travis.
He's a good guy, man. Sweetheart. And really successful,
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And has a cool thing, and I admired his discipline about it. You know what I mean? He was one of those guys that woke up early and would start the process, but he would also really dissect the song. You know what I mean? Like if you would write something, and he would really kind of just line by line, just really scrutinize everything. Not in a negative way, in a positive way. Yeah. And so it's good to do that. Yeah. I've never written a song to where I didn't go back the next day and listen to it, and number one, not be surprised about it. Yeah. You know what I mean? Because you kind of, it's a real neurotic thing. You once you're finished with the song, immediately, it's such a burden lifted. It's this ultimate just physical reward, kind of. You know what I mean? It's the most rewarding thing that I do. And then, but you go another day, and you go, oh, this song sucks. Sure. But then you listen back to it, and it's like, well, it doesn't suck nearly as bad as I thought. Every time. I mean, it's every time for me. Yeah. And then I also go, well, it doesn't nearly suck that bad if I just change this, if I just make this that. There's never been a time where I didn't go back and listen to it the next day and not want to just change little things. Sure. Sure. And if I did that more, it would probably. Well, I heard Tom Douglas say that it took he and Alan Shamblin 7 years to write The House That Built Me. Yeah. Because they kept on whittling at it. Right. Right.
So, people who don't write songs will often ask, like, how does it happen? Like, what happens first? Do you have the words, or do you have the, so what is your typical process?
Whatever an idea is, it starts with an idea, and so, which is a real broad stroke. But an idea can be anything. It usually comes from something somebody said, something you read, something your kids say, anything, just whatever your surroundings are.
Yeah.
And that's what kind of makes a songwriter a good songwriter, is he always has his antenna up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like just always kind of open and receptive to that's a song, that's a song, that's a song.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where it starts, and so that could be, like I said, that could be anything.
Yeah.
And if you have it, once you get something tangible, be it a melody, a lyric, anything like that, just a groove, whatever.
Yeah.
If you can grab onto that, then you should sit down with it if you have time.
Yeah.
Or find a way to put it in a note or a voicemail or something like that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just kind of capture it.
Yeah.
And then you just kind of start. For me, I just go, okay, well, and it's usually more lines these days than it is music. And so, all right, well, what does this mean? And as soon as I can go, what does this mean?
Yeah.
If you can make a word a sentence, you can find a cadence in a sentence. And if you can find a cadence, you can find a tempo. And you can find a melody too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, and then, once you got your melody, you say, with me, I kind of take songs and dissect them as far as like the feel of the style. Like, is this a blues song? Is this a country song? Is this a rock song? And just kind of start building it, you know?
Yeah. When I mentioned that off the recording that Bo Meek was the first person that I interviewed for the new podcast series, and we were talking about you, and we were saying that you're sort of like the great success story of Little Dog. Like Little Dog is to me, it was like kind of like an incubator for talent at different, and we're like, yeah, he really sort of is the one who came out on top.
That's
you know
cool.
what I mean? And
I appreciate that.
No, it's very cool, because it was such a we had such different experiences over there.
Yeah.
And it, like, I just wondered if you could talk more about your mindset, not just at Little Dog, but just overall, and how you continue to move forward and continue to, invite those sort of serendipitous events into your life, which I think is very cool.
I mean, well, I pray a lot.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I mean,
fair.
and that's the thing that sort of, I don't know. It's interesting because I kind of took it as this, like, my relationship with God is basically if the ethos and the cosmos is where these songs are coming from, I just would assume just call that God. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of popular opinion, or by the AA book, whatever, God, or whatever your version of it is. And so I just, and so my thought process has been like, number one, if this is where the songs come from, and they don't come out from anywhere else. You know what I mean? Like, I can't create that part of it myself. That's just uncontrolled experience. Then I'll try to tap into that on a daily basis.
Yeah.
And also, kind of, I was telling somebody this yesterday. The industry has increased my faith, if nothing else, because of the fact that none of this is in my control. None of this. No relationship I have, no decision I make, no person I run into. I mean, like, even with songs, like, all I can do is write them, go into a studio and sing them, and put them on, well, what now is just put them on DSPs. That's it. I have no control over anything else. And so, and that drove me nuts. That drove me nuts for a long time.
Yeah.
Until I just decided, you know what, man, you just got to let this go and just sort of give this to God and just see what happens. And that's really been it. And then I try to be realistic about what I'm doing and just say yes to as much as I can.
Mm-hmm.
Be smart about what I say no to. I mean, can we really do this or can we not? And so I try to be as wise as possible with my decisions, but say yes as much as I can. And my wife she's a rock, man. Yeah. I mean, she's pretty much, my wife does everything except for sing and write songs,
mm-hmm.
And so I kind of I don't, it would be nice to have a team of people, but it's kind of just me and her. I mean, I got an agent and a manager and stuff like that, but we all, it's pretty mom and pop.
Yeah.
And so that's really been just the way I've handled it, and I'm glad to hear you say that it's done well, because it's, as you know, it's a hard road.
Right. Right. Yeah, it's a hard road. And the other thing I was saying to you is that for all your success and for all your continued endeavors, you're a nice person.
Thank you.
You're a really genuinely nice person. So and that's hard. It's really hard to come by. I mean, maybe not all the time, but to have those two things together is very rare.
Thank you.
Yeah. So
I don't know how to not be.
You
know what I mean?
Yeah. Some people are just nice.
Yeah. And I've been around enough people that aren't to sort of to sort of know the difference between the two, and to kind of see, this is the beauty in getting older. Like, you really kind of you meet those people first.
Yeah.
And you have enough experiences in life to where it almost comes around to where you can see things from their perspective.
Sure.
And just be able to say, well, this is why that guy felt that way. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
This is why this person was guarded, because they were insecure, or because they don't write songs and they're lying to everybody. You know what I mean? Whatever the case would be.
Sure.
So it's that understanding of people makes me a little bit more tolerant of folks. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And whereas, and again, it just goes back to the fact that I just can't control any of this stuff. You know? I mean, all I can do is just try to be the most decent form of the person my parents raised me to be.
Yeah.
And say yes to as much as I can.
Yeah. Did your parents do music at all?
Nobody in my family played music.
Okay. Interesting.
Interesting. I know. It was one of those things to where, like, when I was a kid, I would make guitars out of everything. Like, we never had any tinfoil in the house. Like, I would tear up a box. I mean, just anything. And so that was really kind of the start of them buying me a guitar. It took a long time for them. They bought me a guitar and gave me lessons pretty quick, but like the lessons didn't really stick until about 8th grade, maybe. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, it's been an obsession all my life.
Yeah.
I've been just completely obsessed with music and the process, how to create it all my life.
Yeah. That's very cool. You're a father as well, so can you talk to me about what that's like and what it's like, not only to have kids, but also to have a career and sort of juggle, family, or how that all works.
Man, it's spinning plates.
Yeah.
I mean, it really is. Yeah. I had a buddy that told me one time, he said, I don't know anyone that travels for a living that doesn't deal with the friction in a family environment.
Yeah.
And you miss each other.
Yeah.
And you're not, I mean, especially now, because we've been hard at it for the past 2 years. And of course I've been hard at it for a long time, but like COVID was one thing, and then there were years that where my draw was okay, so I would do more writing than I was playing and stuff like that, and so so I've got an older daughter, and then I've got 2 younger daughters, and so my oldest, she was born really before the whole thing started, and so she kind of saw this whole like the ship setting sail, basically.
Yeah.
And so I think it kind of created a little bit of mystery kind of to it, that she's fine with it, I mean, she understands it is what I do, but she didn't have the luxury of being born into it like the girls are, and so I think that makes a lot of difference. I mean, this is what Dad does. But Drew, my 8, she's 8 now, and so it's kind of getting to that point to where like she really misses me. I mean, and so, but the best thing is, and this is kind of universal with parenting. Nobody knows what you're doing. No, you know what I mean? Like, I mean, there's the same thing. It's out of your control. Yeah. You can try to steer your child into being a baseball player all you want to,
right?
And they're going to play cello. I mean, this is children 101. They're never going to do what you want them to do.
Right.
In fact, probably some alternate form, you know what I mean? Like kind of the opposite of what you want them to do.
Yeah.
And so all you can do is just try to keep them alive and tell them that you love them as much as you can. And so, this is what I do. And I don't want her to be sad when I leave. Mm-hmm. But you know what? Listen, this is what I do. I tell them, I said, every time I leave, I always come home. Mm-hmm. And that's true. So that's a truth that you can hang on to. Yeah. If it's a week, if it's 2 days, if it's 3 weeks, I'm going to come home at some point in time. And then just make sure that they know I love them.
Yeah.
And the good, like, again, back to my wife, like, they're not out of school now. This is summertime, and so we'll be able to travel, and I think they dig that. You know what I mean? Like they enjoy, I think they get a kick out of me being on stage. You know what I mean? Like they're not enamored by it yet. But it's funny. So Drew, the 8-year-old, she said, I just got off this tour with Drake White, and they came to see me in Chattanooga, and the place was packed. Mm-hmm. And so. We played our set, and then she sat out there out front with me while Drake played his, and she said, how does everybody know these songs? I said, they just heard them on the radio, I guess. Mm-hmm. She said, yeah, but your songs are on the radio. Mm-hmm. They don't sing your songs like that. Thanks a lot.
Always good to get knocked down a little bit.
They'll do it too.
Oh yeah. So, and what's the latest thing you've been working on? You're just released something or about to?
I just put a single out. So,
okay.
I've been recording at Capricorn Studios.
Okay.
So I made a record. We made a record during COVID. Here's what happened. So Capricorn, Mercer University in Macon, Georgia, bought Capricorn, bought the studio.
Okay.
They completely renovated it.
Yeah.
And then they kind of built some property around it. Like they made a museum out of the studio, and you can go visit. There's a little sound, like a listening room at the back of the studio that they'll have shows at sometimes. And then they've got apartments around it and stuff. And so it was kind of this big revitalization that happened in December of 2019.
Okay.
Well, March 2020, everything shut down. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, but which was a golden opportunity for us, because Brent Cobb had done some stuff with the Georgia Music Hall of Fame, same thing, like right before that. Mm-hmm. And then Charlie Starr and the Blackberry Smoke guys had gone in and done like Wet Willie songs with Jimmy Hall. So there were these two things that had happened before it shut down. Yeah. And then when everything quit, and when they got a good taste of how cool the studio was, they, it was almost like they had to close their doors. Well, my manager said, well, we just kind of got to talking about what we were going to do, and my manager said, well, why don't y'all just go down to Capricorn? Yeah. I can make a couple of phone calls. Let's see if the Blackberry Smoke guys want to play it as the band, which it worked.
Yeah.
And so August of 2020, we went and recorded down there. Okay. I mean, just same thing. Nobody was there. The engineer was there. Everybody wore masks. Mm-hmm. It was a big space. No big deal. Yeah, made a great record. Yeah. But so Brent has since. He's made 2 records of his own down there. He made my record. I think he's got an apartment in Macon. Like he's really kind of investing in the city. Yeah. And so they, for all intents and purposes, giving him the keys to the studio. Yeah. And he's got players down there. And so, that's just where we've been recording. Yeah. And we went down there and we cut 4 songs, and are just putting them out. Yeah. This is different. It's a different day and age.
Right. So you're talking about just like releasing singles and then just like, is there any point to releasing full albums at this point in your estimation?
I hear people say all the time that they want to hear albums. You know what I mean? Yeah. I hear people say it all the time. However, my wife and I talked about this, like with our experience. At least for the past 2 records, there's just songs that go unnoticed. Mm-hmm. Because for an album release, you have to release to DSPs. That with the digital formats, you have to release 4 singles in series lead. You don't have to,
right?
But the standard practice is to kind of release singles leading up to the album release.
Right.
Well, we've talked about by the 4th single that is the album release. We've talked about the record so much that it's kind of lost its momentum. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And therefore, there are 5 songs that just completely go unnoticed.
Okay.
And 3 of those 5 songs are the ones I love the most. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so they don't have a shot.
Right.
And enough already.
Yeah.
I mean, because as well as I do that, to go in the studio and cut 3 songs is a whole lot more cost effective than it is to go and cut 12 or 15.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, and we just don't have that kind of money anymore.
Right.
Right. I don't have $50,000 laying around to go make a record. Yeah. But I've got 5.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I can efficiently do that.
Yeah.
And put them out. And so we're just trying it this way.
Yeah.
So that the songs and now granted, you got to make sure you got good songs.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like if this is all you're going to put out this month, then you better make sure that it's the top of the pile. Yeah. Which is fine. I mean, I've got back catalog. I've got the stuff that I write that I'm excited about. You know what I mean? Like I've got where I can kind of pick and choose my co-writers. So there's interesting story there with the people that I write these songs with and stuff. So it's nice to be able to do that. And I feel like that doing it that way, again, even though it's cheaper and more effective, it gives these songs a shot that they deserve. Yeah. They all get their own special moment in the sun that they deserve, and I'd rather it be that way. Right. And if people are really that ravenous for an album, well, if I put out, and typically the normal frame of time is anywhere from 4 to 6 weeks a piece. So I mean, you start this at the first of the year. At the end of the year, just put them on a vinyl and call it something. Yeah. Adam Hood, whatever. Yeah. And make a record. Yeah.
For those who don't know, what's a DSP?
It's a digital service. What is it? Digital streaming provider. Okay. I think that's what it is. It's this Spotify, iTunes, stuff like that. Yeah.
So what's it like a typical single release look like for you? Do you do a video for each one as well, or what's the rollout process per?
So usually, I think Spotify, and I can't speak for iTunes, but I think they're similar in this. Like they want you to have the song submitted 4 weeks before the release. So you choose the song, and then you submit it to get it set up to go, and in that time that's kind of when you start your promotion because of the fact that you have to you have to have it has to have a actual physical like a title, like a cover page basically. And so once we come up with that kind of design, I can start designing merchandise around it. You know what I mean? Like if I can come up with an image, if we can choose an image, then we can also choose an image that if it's going to go on the cover, if it's going to go on the image that you're going to choose for the actual, again, the cover of it, you can put that same image or some kind of manipulated format of it on a t-shirt, a hat, a koozie. And then we just kind of start playing them out live. I mean, we don't do a video for every one of them. I've gotten lucky with this one I just put out, Stage Lights, because I was on the road with Drake, like I said, and Zach Knudsen is his kind of content collector, creator, provider, and Zach is a whiz. And, I mean, he's like the camera is his friend, and so I got a great video out of that. But that's not always the case, Well, I mean, man, it's kind of the same thing now, man. This is a do-it-yourself world. If you want to do it that bad, you can figure out how to do this yourself. I mean, you can really kind of string together a video out of just clips and crap that you collect. I mean, you can string together a video just out of photos. You know what I mean? Like there's a way to do it. And so there's almost no excuse to not. You know. But that sort of, the video, the visual stuff will drive people to YouTube. That's what YouTube wants.
Okay.
And then also like your other social media formats, like Instagram is more visual. Facebook, you can put more audio stuff on that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then we just kind of, like I said, we start talking about it. We make merch around it. We play it. And then it's released.
Yeah.
And then we start the process with the next one.
Fair. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is a whole different landscape these days, isn't it?
It really is. Yeah. And it's been really but that's the thing, like I said, like it hasn't been weird for me. This feels more natural to me just because of the fact that I love these songs.
Right.
I love and I've always I've just never made records where there was a sleeper on it.
Right.
I always want to be able to play every single song on every single record.
Yeah.
Because I love them that much.
Right.
And so this is great. Like I love it like this.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of, number one, kind of adjusting to it.
Yeah.
Which is, it's not, like I said, it's not that I don't have a problem with adjusting to it. It's just a matter of like everyone in my world adjusting to it.
Sure.
And like fans adjusting to it.
Sure.
And people that are like, well, this is the only way I listen to records is this way. And
Right.
which, whatever the hell that means.
Right.
But it's just a matter of getting everybody else on board.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then also it is kind of weird to not have tangible product. Like it's weird to not have CDs.
It's odd.
Yeah.
Right? It's like, and what are your thoughts on the? I understand that you like prefer it kind of this way.
Yeah.
But I feel like the record business is really kind of no longer right. Like
Right.
there are odd examples of people like Taylor Swift, which is its own I don't even know what that is. But like there are people like with some crazy success.
Mm-hmm.
But for like the sort of working man, I feel like that they don't have anything to sell.
I know.
Right? And you'll never get people to in my estimation, I find it hard to believe that people are going to be told at some point to pay for something that's been so basically free for such a long time. Like the toothpaste back in the tube kind of thing.
I don't know, man. I mean, that I'm with you. I don't know how that's going to work out.
Right.
Because to me, it's that exchange is the nucleus behind what I do. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, you play your songs for people. You go back to where you're selling your CDs. They buy them. Nice to meet you. Here's product.
Yeah.
Here's money.
Yeah.
I'll see you next time.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they come back next time.
Right.
And there you go. I mean, like that in a circle a lot is what creates a career.
Yeah.
And so, I don't know how that's going to work.
Right.
Yeah,
because like if you think about it, like in a weird way, like it's almost like being farmers, right? And you take all this time, you grow all this stuff, and then you take it to where you'd sell it, and then you just keep that process going. But now
it's the
there's
exact same thing.
there's like nothing to sell.
It's like you're growing corn that like in like you watch the stalk come up and then there's like nothing. There's nothing that blooms from it. And so like you take this piece of nothing and you go put it in an empty basket and go sell it to people.
Yeah.
It's weird.
The only thing I can think that might change it, and this would be, but it would have to be some sort of new technology that somehow, would change the game and make people say, oh, well, I would pay for that.
Man, and I've seen a lot of variations of that. People trying to get outside the box. I mean, there was a guy that would come to shows in Houston that would record the show. And he had some kind of a device that he could just like pump out he could take his recording of the show, put it into said device, and it would pump out a CD and then sell it. So it was kind of cool because like he of course took a service fee from it, but I mean like it was we made money off that. And it was a great idea. And then I've also seen, guys just go around selling like jump drives and stuff like that. And putting that would be kind of the case, like what you were talking about. Like, if it's kind of the answer to putting out a bunch of singles and then putting them on a record. Like you put out a bunch of singles, put them on a jump drive, and then just sell it like that.
Yeah.
But nothing's ever stuck, you know.
Yeah. I don't think they found the right combination yet of what it could be.
Yeah,
that would grab everybody and say, like, you know, this would make me go back to paying for music, because it's going to have to be something more than music. Just, you know, that's going to be a big part of it, but I think there's going to have to be some other element to it that would, you know, push people over, because again, I mean, it's been free for so long.
I know.
It's been free for so long that
how are they going to go back to paying for it?
Yeah, not in the current form. I don't think they ever will.
I know.
Yeah.
Well, and that's the thing. Like for me, I never made money on records.
Right.
You know.
Right.
I mean, like I never made money on records. Right. But the problem is there are so many that have that it affects it. That now there's no trickle down.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Like you know, it really was kind of when it's good at the top, it's good all the way down.
Yeah.
You know, and so but now it's just changed the infrastructure so bad that I think it's made people a little bit more, made artists a little bit more leery about getting out there, or not really leery about it. We just don't know what we're doing, you know? Like, I mean, we didn't know what we were doing to begin with.
Right.
Now we're all trying to navigate through this stuff.
Right.
And so you just don't know what you're doing. And it's not like you're scared to put out music, you just don't know how, you know?
Right.
And so, and then, you know, same thing. It's just, I feel like it's kind of made people leery about going out and listening to stuff. I don't know. It's a strange time to be in the industry.
It really is.
But the good thing is, you know, I know they'll figure it out because there are enough people trying.
Yeah,
you know what
sure.
I mean?
Yeah.
And it's not just, I mean, the labels and stuff like that. I mean, you know, guys like me and you kind of understand that those big buildings are necessary, but not necessary for us. You know what I mean? They serve a purpose, but they don't really serve anything that I have going on. You know, and so that's not that big of a deal. But everyone in those offices is trying to figure it out too.
Yeah.
You know. Yeah. And so it'll happen. I guess. I think so. Or maybe not.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. It's hard to say.
Yeah.
It's hard to say. If so, take a songwriter somewhere, and you know, what advice would you give them? You know, starting out in this day and age, like what would you say to them to like give them some sort of hope?
Man, I saw a guy, a friend of mine that I know. He wrote this song, and he said it on his Instagram account. He like posted a little clip of the song and said, "This song would be great for Lee Brice." And tag Lee Brice. There you go.
Yeah.
Because I guarantee you, I don't know how, I mean, no matter how busy a day Lee Brice is having, and Lee's a great guy, but I mean, even on his busiest day, Lee Brice is probably going to check his Instagram at some point in time and see who's tagged him, who's done this, you know what I mean? And like, that's direct access.
Yeah.
Like there's no sign to a publishing deal. Work at it for 5 years, send this to your pitching guy, let him get a pitch meeting going on, get from his people to Lee's people to Lee, then they get it to Lee at some point in time. Like all that shit is gone.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
And so that's the best part about this. This is a level playing field.
Okay.
You know?
Yeah.
And it's almost a clean slate.
Yeah.
Because of the fact that the whole design has kind of, it still exists, but like you have direct access. If you want to be a songwriter, right now you can write a song, record it on your phone, make an MP3 or a WAV. I think they do WAV files, but like, you know, create a WAV file for it, create a Spotify account, put it on there, and you are a songwriter.
Yeah.
I mean, and it's small amounts of money, of course. It's you know, fractions of pennies.
Right.
But you do that, you're generating money.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, call yourself a professional.
Yeah.
You're welcome. Here's your T-shirt.
Yeah, yeah.
You know? So this is a great day and age.
Yeah.
You know, to be just, and that's the thing. You know, the advice I would give, and the advice I kind of normally give is just do it. Just do it. Don't hesitate about it, because you know, if this is your first song, dude, it's gonna suck.
Yeah.
It's gonna suck.
Yeah.
Nobody, I mean, even my daughter, like, you know, she's into cheering, and like, you know, nobody expects you to walk into your cheer camp on the first day and be doing back handsprings. Nobody expects that.
Right.
You got to learn to suck for a minute.
Right.
You know?
Right.
But the sucking, that's the beauty. And like every song that you write is going to be better than the last song that you wrote. Every time. It doesn't matter. And you just, the more you do it, just the better and better and better you get. And you just kind of keep on going. And this all takes time, you know. It all takes time.
Yeah.
But there's time to take, you know. And so that's the good thing about it. You know, there are ways that you can get your music into the ears of the whole world. That's why, you know, you see it all the time. I mean, especially now, like, who are these TikTok kids? But these TikTok kids, they got it figured out, man.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, that's all they do.
Yeah.
They just put their songs on TikTok and just the same piece, bam, 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 all the time.
Yeah.
And, you know, eventually they're touring.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Yeah. No. It's a
Right,
different world.
weird.
It's a different world, brother. It's a different world.
I know, it's really tough to adjust to. I know. And it's also kind of, it's not that it's tough, it's hard an adjustment. It's just like, you know, I feel like, dang, I just got into a routine. Like we just got settled.
Yeah.
And here we go again.
Yeah.
I got to start figuring this crap out again.
Yeah. If you could go back, you know, to when you were starting out and sort of talk to yourself, what would you say to yourself? If anything.
Good question. I think that taking it seriously, and it's not just taking it seriously, because I feel like I always took it seriously. I just, like I said, you know, I never really, you know, because of the fact that it's no one's fault or anything like that, but like, I had no vision. You know what I mean? Like, I had vision, but it was kind of the end game.
Yeah.
And which is kind of how it ought to be. But like, you know, where I heard Edwin McCain say one time, he said, you know, 21 years old, I knew this is what I wanted to do. I knew what I wanted to do. I just didn't know how to get there. And we just didn't have the resource back then. You know what I mean? Like, you know, there was no internet. There was no internet.
Right.
You know? And so I feel like if I could tell myself what to do differently, I would try to see if I could talk myself into focusing a little bit more. You know what I mean? Yeah. And concerning myself with some of the things I didn't concern myself with, and vice versa, not concerning myself with. I really had this 5-year plan. And but the problem was my 5-year plan was kind of a 20-year plan.
I like
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so you know, by wanting it to take 5 years, like you were saying earlier, I kind of burned myself out pretty quick. You know what I mean? Like I really kind of went full speed real fast, and then all of a sudden went, whoa, I'm pretty wore out. Yeah. You know? Yeah. And here's, you know, here's where, instead of being at the end of the 20-year plan, 5 years into it, I was just 5 years into the 20-year plan, wanting to be at the 20-year part of it. Yeah. And so, you know, and so I looked at that as failure, which by no means is failure. Right. You know, I mean, it's just, there's no failure in this. You know, even the things that I failed miserably at created a success eventually. You know, it all got me to where I am today. And where I am today is, shoot, man, I mean, I could complain, but I'd be looking for things to complain about if I could, if I did, you know. So you know, that's the thing. I think if you can just, like I said, just if I could just focus and just try to stick to the craft and just get better and allow things to happen more than try to force things to happen. Yeah. I think that would have served me a lot better. Would I have been further along? I don't know. Would I have been happier? Probably. Yeah. But who's to say? You know, I'm pretty good right now. Yeah. You know, like I like this place. Yeah. Because like I said, you know, for I can manage fatherhood. I can manage being a husband. I'm doing as well at that stuff as I am at music. Yeah. Meaning, like, am I successful? You know, I'm doing better than most, but I've still got a lot of work to do. Sure. You know what I mean? Sure. I still got a lot of work to do as a husband and as a dad and a human being, but I'm good where I'm at. Yeah. You know? Yeah. But I'm almost 50, so I'd like to have about 10 years back.
Yeah.
It would be cool to be looking at 40 instead of looking at 50.
Yeah.
You know? You know?
Yeah. I just turned 49, so.
Oh, yeah. See, so we're the same age. Yeah. I'll be 49 in July.
Yeah.
This is weird, isn't it?
It's wild. It's wild.
I mean, the only thing that's that's saving me from freaking out is the fact that, like, I'm not turning 60.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
Because, I mean, I got guys that are still, you know, friends, like people I look up to that are still hard at it.
Yeah.
And they're almost 60. And they
Yeah.
still look good.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
But that's the funny thing about it. Like, I'm sure you probably get this. Like, you see them and you go, wow, they look good. And it's like, do they look good to you? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like maybe they look old. I don't know. But maybe I look like like Methuselah or something. Like that.
Do you work out and stuff?
Yeah, I try to get as much exercise. I don't do it daily just because doing it on the road is pretty difficult.
Yeah, sure.
But like when I'm home, I'm home enough to I can get 3 solid 1 hour workouts in. So I work out pretty hard at home.
And what's your go-to thing to do?
My wife and I have this guy that we go to that's just, I mean, he kind of mixes the weights in with the cardio. So, you know, you do 1 hour basically, and it creates 30 minutes of cardio and 30 minutes of weights.
Yeah,
you know,
cool.
But it's not lifting heavy weights.
Right.
I mean, it's just kind of, you know, just 2 muscles a day, 3 days a week.
Yeah,
you know?
cool.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, that's good plan.
And that's worked for me. You know? And your diet is really important.
Sure.
It's as important as it is as the exercise is.
Yeah.
And that's easier on the road than it used to be. My drummer has a gluten allergy, and so that's, you know, his consciousness of that kind of stuff really affects everyone else's consciousness of it. Yeah. So we were able to make better choices, and there are better choices to be made out there.
Yeah.
You know,
these days there are.
You can buy fruit at a gas station.
Yeah.
You know, you
Yeah.
couldn't do that.
No.
You know.
No. It was grim back in the day.
I know. Yeah. That's right. Everything was a potato chip.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome. Well, look, unless you have anything else that you want to say, you know, this has been great for me because I always looked up to you, and I always thought that all the things we've talked about, that, you know, how you're such a nice person, and I really like the way that you look at things and the way that you go about life, and I really appreciate you taking the time.
The feeling's mutual, dude.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, it was that we opened for you.
Yeah.
Starting out, you know what I mean? So
Going far away.
But I appreciate you saying that. It's really encouraging. And man, iron sharpens iron, so it means a lot. And this has been, I can talk about this all day.
Yeah,
so
man.
I appreciate it.
Cool.
Yeah,
well, thanks so much, Adam.
You're welcome, buddy.
Right on. Well, there you have it, folks. Mr. Adam Hood. Adam, thanks so much for stopping by the house. I sure do appreciate your time. Folks, if you want to follow Adam, there is adamhood.com. There is @AdamHoodMusic on Instagram. He's on Facebook. He's all over the place, so check him out. If you want to follow us, we're on Instagram, we're on X, and there's mootdavis.com. Anyway, till the next one, folks, everybody, be cool. Later.